Hey everybody, welcome to another hot take. I'm Tony D. I don't know why I stood. I should have sat down before I pushed the button, but I did. Anyhow, here talking about the current state of Hollywood, and aha, I got you, doggy. And here's Doggy to say hi. Hello. The current state of Hollywood and entertainment in general, with regard to the upcoming virus, crisis, whatever you want to call it. Um, I think, you know, there's going to be, I think, a lot of the woke stuff that came out of Hollywood, part of the deal is that the marketing people in Hollywood found a scapegoat for their very poor decisions, or for the studio's very poor decisions to make certain movies. And when certain movies go bad, it's easy for them to say, well, the movie wasn't bad. It just got bad word of mouth because of all those trolls online. And it was very, woke and progressive. But there are a lot of bigots online, and they ruined the movie for everybody. And that's the only reason Birds of Prey isn't a number one hit or whatever. That, of course, in my view, isn't true at all. And it's this woke nonsense that drives audiences away. But you have so many people in the driver's seat at the studios, at comic book companies, TV production houses. Ooh, stinky breath, doggy. Stinky breath. That they just don't see it. They just don't see it, doggy. So, their new thing, however, and they may transition over to this, is, well, it's not that we made a bad movie. It's just that the coronavirus prevented people from coming out to see it. Now, that's not, unfortunately, as strong as the woke narrative, because the woke narrative explains everything. The coronavirus would only explain your crappy box office numbers. It's kind of hard to sell that, say, to comic book, for the failure of a comic book, because a comic book you can order online, you can get the digital version, you can have it mailed to you, you can get a subscription service. Even a comic book store, a local comic book store might mail it to you. So that's gonna be a little bit of a tougher sell. But for the movies and TV shows, kind of perfect. Well, for the movies, because theaters are in trouble anyway. Who goes to the movies anymore, really? It's such an advantage to watch a movie at home now. The screens are just as big, if not big enough. You get yourself 48 inch screen, 68 inch screen. Man, you're in Schaefer City. I mean, that is just a big screen. and they're so nice and flat, the TVs, and so crystal clear, and you got all the little gadgets that go with it. I mean, it's really hard to sell me on going to the movies anymore. Even on the old plasma TV that I have, because and I'm just happy to watch it on a computer screen, quite frankly. But yeah, so like one of the movies that seems to be taking advantage of this coronavirus is the James Bond movie. Now they're claiming that we're delaying the movie because of the coronavirus, which may be true, but it's also probably true that I can't imagine that movie is testing very well with audiences. The rumor is it's not, or that the advance word is that it's not a good movie. Because remember, this is a super woke James Bond, and he's, some lady shows him up, some person of color really shows him how it's done. I don't think people, they don't want to see that. It would have been perfectly fine to do a new franchise with this character, and I think that's what they're kind of setting her up for. But to set her up this way, to beat Bond, I think is just a terrible, terrible way to present it. If I was going to do it as a screenwriter, the way I would present it is I would present her as Bond's protege. Why not? if you're going to make Bond the old school guy who's going to retire, why not train somebody who's just as, has the natural talent to take over? Don't make them competitors. Make them allies. Make them both awesome. So, and then Bond can go off into the sunset, and you can say, well, this woman was trained by James Bond. And that gives her a lot of credibility in the eyes of the movie goers and Bond fans. And even the Bond fans would grow to like this character. Instead, when you set her up, oh, she's better than James Bond. No. The Bond fans are furious at that. I've talked to them. I've seen them online. I've seen their posts. They are not happy. So just like, the comic book people insisted on alienating all their fans, same thing with Star Wars, same things with Star Trek. They're doing the same thing to James Bond, I think. They're just going to alienate the entire fan base and insisting and doubling down that, no. This is diverse and woke and it's better and you should like it. And if you don't, you're a terrible bigot. And we don't need, male white men to come see this movie. Well, you kind of do. You kind of do. So that's not the formula. It would have been great to have a James Bond protege. Even if it was a woman, who cares? She would have been validated. The character would have been validated because Bond trained her. That could be Bond's daughter. Be even better. Certainly Bond's got to have a few children running around. That would be a totally, workable story. Like, oh, God, I have a daughter and I never knew. And she's just super capable and lucky like he is. She's just like him. That would be amazing. How awesome would that be? She's a female version of Bond. She's just like him. She drinks, she smokes, she's just uber confident and uber lucky. And then you could eliminate this whole rivalry thing. Bond would have a natural affinity for helping her. Yes, that's the answer. That would be great. But unfortunately, Hollywood's not about great ideas anymore. It's about, what can some pumped up executive who's never written a thing in their life pitch to another pumped up executive who's desperately trying to make the third quarter earning reports for next year look like something? What could I pitch to make them, greenlight it? And that's why, Hollywood's in such a state. It used to be that these studio executives, why they were money guys, and they were money grubbing, but, they recognized that talent, if the talent really wanted something, if the talent made a decision and they were really gung-ho about it, they had to consider that, at least consider it. Now that's just not the case. I mean, you literally have these execs in charge of the Star Wars franchise doing interviews. Like anyone cares about their opinion at all. It's different. When George Lucas does an interview, he created Star Wars. When Mark Hamill does an interview, he's Luke Skywalker. When the executive, I believe her name's Kathleen Kennedy, when she does an interview, crickets. Effing crickets. Because no one cares. Okay? Wouldn't matter if, all her movies were great. She is not talent. She should be not seen. Not because she's a woman, but because she's an executive. And her job is to stay in the office and make the money work. Not to wear a t-shirt that says the Force is female and take pictures and be in the news and be the star. I think that's part of the reason these franchises are just really so bad, in my view. It's because these executives have such a tremendous ego, they think they're part of it. I think that's part of the problem with comics. These people, these editors, they're not Stan Lee. Stan Lee understood you had to present yourself in a certain way. Yes, Stan Lee was always out there, but he was a character in the Marvel Universe. he created a brand and a character for himself. These other guys don't have that. They haven't, and Stan was a creator. He was a creator. These other guys aren't creators who run the comic book companies. They are, Joe Quesada was. And I think Shooter, he created a few things, didn't he? He must have. He certainly was creative, but not these last few. I don't see the creations coming from them. If they created anything, I've never heard of it, and I don't think it was a hit. And when I say create something, Stan Lee created Spider-Man, co-created Spider-Man, right? It was him and Ditko. Ditko drew it, and he wrote all the dialogue. He created, what else? He created a bunch of characters. I forget them all. But the thing is, that gives him cred. Quesada. His creations, he created Azrael over DC. Not the biggest fan of that, but whatever. At least he's got, he created Ash with Jimmy Palmiotti. They had a book. It was hot for about 10 minutes. There were other things. Those guys were in the mix. They were us. In the world of comics, they were some of us. They were the boys. Okay, the boys moved up, and we were cool with that. Some of these other people who moved up, who the hell are they? Who cares? Who is C.B. Saluski? I have no idea who this guy is. I have no idea who he is or why he got the job. Dan DiDio had no idea who he was. Now he's gone. I don't know who's in charge over at DC. I had no idea who these people are. Who are they? What did they create? Jim Shooter at least did Secret Wars. I mean, that was big. And a guy had bold ideas. Quite frankly, Jim Shooter was the Donald Trump of Marvel Comics, in case you didn't know it. But, these other guys, these executives, why are they in the spotlight? They're not supposed to be in the spotlight unless, look, if you hired me at DC Comics, if you took Neil Adams, the great Neil Adams, if you don't know who he is, look him up, comic fans. If you took him and you made him editor-in-chief of DC Comics, that would be something. Then you could do interviews with Neil. Oh, back in the day when I was drawing and writing Batman and blah, 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 we did it this way. Well, now we're doing it this way, and I have this new talent and blah, blah, blah. That lends him all sorts of credibility. You just hire some no-name executive. He doesn't belong in the spotlight. That's for the talent. No one from the studio should be interviewed ever. Not even the head, not even the head of the studio, not the head of the Marvel division. None of these guys. No one cares. You're not Spider-Man. They want to see Tom Holland talk. They want to see Chris Hemsworth talk. They want to see the stars or the creators. That's it. The only people who are talent are actors, writers, directors. That's it, basically. They're the talent. Maybe you could have John Williams, because he's a music guy. That's talent too. Anybody with a producer credit who is not also talent, no. Producers get money and they get talent. There are other jobs that require talent on a movie or a TV show, like editor, like set designers, those people. Those people would be more interesting to interview than, say, Kathleen Kennedy. I'd certainly watch an interview with a guy who made the props on Star Wars before I watch one with Kathleen Kennedy, because at least the guy who made the props could tell me interesting inspirations for his prop design. Kathleen Kennedy is just going to spout, well, we have a lot of great ideas coming up, and we're going to put out some more movies and another TV show, and you're going to watch it and love it. What else is she going to do? It's not her inspiration. It's not her brain power that we're watching on the screen. Now, she may delude herself into thinking that, well, it is kind of mine. But that is, in my view, just arrogance on her part. So these guys really need to be hip checked. And as I said in my woke Hollywood rant, or woke sci-fi rant, it's time to vote with your wallet and stop patronizing these things, including James Bond. Yeah, I know. I've been a Bond fan forever, but the era's over. They're going to ruin Bond just as they ruined Doctor Who, Star Trek, and Star Wars. They're well on their way. You know, and again, this won't be the first movie that ruins Bond. This just might be the last movie that ruins Bond. You know, there's been plenty of other stinkers, in my view, and Quantum of Solace is right up there, that were just terrible. They're just terrible Bond movies. They can't even hold a candle to George Lazenby's movie. And that movie is not very good, in my view. So, there are plenty of new talent all over the place. They're all over the internet. And if you're not searching for them, if you're just stuck in watching the same old Hollywood BS, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? Think about the time you're wasting, the brain power you are wasting, hoping that a show will get better, hoping that the next franchise installment is better, hoping that this will be the comic that turns it all around. You're an idiot for doing that. You're an idiot if you're doing that right now. Stop spending your money on these things. Look for new things. New things are great. Sometimes they won't work. Sometimes you get a new thing and go, well, I didn't like this. But if it's done with from a creator who genuinely tried, at least you'll have some amount of respect for it, and for yourself for trying something new. Maybe you won't like it as the piece as a whole, but you might at least like portions of it enough so you say, well, you know, I didn't really like it, but I can kind of respect it. So I think if you're a fan and you're not seriously rethinking putting your money into other things other than these big franchises, big studios, and big channels, I think you're lost. I mean, you really are. You're really. It's like pouring junk food into your brain. You are eating some of the cheapest candy imaginable, metaphorically, in your head, instead of putting something in there that's really good for you and really, really of quality. So, anyhow, that's my rant. Speaking of quality, check out my books, Wokistan, a Novel, and The Pineys at Amazon.com.